It's day 3 of the filing of certificates of candidacy. Former Senator JINGGOY ESTRADA and Marawi civic leader Samira Gutok will try their luck once again in the senatorial race. Isambayan claimed that Vice President Leni Robredo accepted the coalition's nomination as their presidential bet. However, Robredo's camp has denied this. The civil war within the ruling PDP Laban Party continues. This time, the Cusi faction expelled Senator Manny Pacquiao from the party. The reproduction number in Metro Manila continues to decrease, according to the Octa Research Group. Are we finally winning against the Delta variant? And it's a colorful day in New Mexico. They celebrated the Hot Air Balloon Festival after a 2-year hiatus. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. The third day of COC filing once again saw several individuals and groups formalize their candidacies for the 2022 elections. Maricel Halili with the report.
The third day of COC filing was much slower than the previous 2 days. Still, there were notable officials and groups that filed their COCs. Former Senator JINGGOY ESTRADA has personally filed his certificate of candidacy for senator under Puwersa ng Masang Pilipino. This is just a day after his brother, former Senator JV Ejercito, filed his candidacy for the same post. The question is it morally acceptable to have siblings in the upper chamber?
Well, why not? Both of us, I think both of us deserve to be there. Both of us, isa lang naman dugo na nananalaytay sa amin. Ang dugong para manilbihan sa ating mga kababayan.
Ocho Derecho bet and senatorial aspirant Samira Gutok is a buzzer beater. She arrived 10 minutes after the supposed closing time due to some issues in her documents. She is now running under the slate of Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, Aksyon Demokratiko.
I went to the Islamic Center kanina to have a prayer 1, 2, 3, and I arrived there, and the paperwork na Gutok Samira on this ay nabaliktad po, so I had to come back and forth and wait for a replacement of the document. So very much, ma'am, very compliant with COMELEC regulations, the strictness and the rigor. As a former NAMFEL volunteer, alam ko po pag isang letra magkamali. So talaga po, isang-isa, baka nininervous po ako, nagkakabaliktad yung last name naging first name.
Meanwhile, a Marcos and an Aquino sent the same representative to file their candidacies. A certain Tiburcio Marcos is vying for presidency, while a certain Luz Lalaganda Aquino wants to be a senator. Majority of the filers today are seeking for seats in Congress through party list. One of them is Manibela, a group of drivers and operators disappointed with the current administration.
Kung gigradean talaga si Pangulo, siguro nasa kalahati po.
Kalahati as in parang 5?
As in 5 kasi never ko narinig na kumusta yung transport. So narinig po ba tayo?
Another driver's party list is one Utah. If granted with Congress seats, they vowed to pass an Ayuda law for ordinary drivers and operators. One ACCA aims to use public funds for poor people, especially for students in need, regardless of their academic performance.
Ang isang magnanakaw, anti-Christ po ang magnanakaw. Kaya mag-pro-Christ po kayo. Sumamo po kayo sa one isikap.
All in all, 1 aspirant filed for president, 4 for senator, and 10 for party list filed their COC today. No one filed for the vice president. For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
Manila Mayor Isko Moreno and Dr. Willie Ong will be filing their certificates of candidacy tomorrow. This was confirmed by Isko Moreno's camp last week. October 4 is also the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi, whom the Manila mayor was named after. The two will be running under the Aksyon Demokratiko Party. Vice President Leni Robredo has yet to make a decision on her election plans. That is according to her spokesperson, Attorney Barry Gutierrez.
Tatakbo sa lokal.
In a radio program, Gutierrez said Robredo will announce her final plans before October 8. Isambayan convener Armin Luistro earlier claimed that Robredo has accepted the coalition's nomination as their standard bearer. Gutierrez also assured Robredo supporters that the vice president will not back down once she files her COC. And the two factions of the ruling party, PDP Laban, are in a new squabble. This time around, it's over the filing of Senator Manny Pacquiao's COC under the Cebu-based party, PROMDI. Speaking to us here on One News, Senator Coco Pimentel said that the two factions have not been in contact ever since the rift. Pimentel also maintained that all necessary steps were made to ensure the legitimacy of Pacquiao's filing under PROMDI. The senator likewise admitted that he was surprised by Senator Bongo and President Duterte's move yesterday.
And then the ending is the person who declined to run as president is the one who filed for vice president. So that means they abandoned all of their public pronouncements, they nullified all of their formalities, and they just made a last minute or an impromptu decision to change everything.
We're going to pause for a quick break, but we will be back with more stories after that. Keep it here on One News. You are still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. The COVID-19 reproduction rate in Metro Manila has continued on its downward trend. Is this a good sign? Joining us this evening to answer that question is Professor Guido David of the Octa Research Group. Professor Guido, good evening. Thank you for joining us. To what factors can we attribute this downtrend in the reproduction number, at least here in the NCR? Was it the lockdowns? Are we seeing the effect of that August ECQ?
Yes, Sean, so we are seeing a downward trend in the NCR, but not just in the NCR, but also in the NCR plus 8, meaning we're also seeing it in Batangas, in Bulacan, in Cavite, in Laguna, in Rizal. So what that means is the reproduction number has decreased below 1 in these areas. So what can we attribute this to? Partially, yes, to the lockdown, to the ECQ and the MECQ. That helps slow down the spread of the highly contagious Delta variant. And then so far what we're seeing is that the alert level system has been working. We haven't seen a spike in cases yet. It doesn't guarantee that we won't be seeing a spike in cases, but so far, after more than 2 weeks of the alert level system, we haven't seen a spike. So we have to attribute that it's also working. And then we have vaccinations. Based on what I have seen, we have vaccinated more than 7 million people in Metro Manila. That's about half of the entire population in Metro Manila. There are other factors as well that, I think people are more compliant with the health protocols because of the threat of the Delta variant. And there's also this aspect of the time frame of the surge, and we have been studying this, and it has been over the past more than 1 year that a surge is usually contained within 2 to 3 months. We're not sure why. We actually mentioned this in the Chiefs last week. seeing is that over 2 to 3 months, surge is usually contained, and we have seen this in other countries as well, and also in the Philippines.
Right. You know what? I was meaning to ask you because I did listen to that episode of the Chiefs, and I did hear you say that. And what were your best guesses for why there is that 2 to 3 month cycle per surge, as it seems?
Actually, it's almost inexplicable because I already talked to some of the biologists like Father Nicanor, and we didn't really have a definite answer. It's not because we have achieved herd immunity. I mean, because it has been like this even for the past surges. So partly because of the restrictions, yes, but also we can't say that the virus is getting tired. But I think there's a certain level of seasonality aspect to the virus, and that's probably our best guess right now.
Right. Thanks for sharing that with us. Now, I want to zero back in on what you said about the alert level system here in the NCR and that it seems to be working. Having said that, are you guys in favor of downgrading the alert level from 4 to 3 here in the NCR?
Yeah, actually, in a way, we have downgraded already the alert levels, or the alert level for NCR, because we have added capacity to establishments, and we're looking at a possible we're looking at a system wherein which we can use as a guide for the alert level system. So based on the metrics that we're looking at, we see that alert level 3 is actually possible in the NCR. But then again, we're not the ones who do who compute these values that will give us the alert level systems. That's done by the IATF and the Department of Health. But us personally, as an independent research group, I can say that based on what we're seeing, we think that it's feasible to move down to an alert level 3 in NCR.
Right, Professor Guido, let's focus on that a little bit. So I understand that you might have different metrics from the IATF, but if we were to ask you guys in the Octa Research Group, what your metrics would be for downgrade, what would be, just very briefly and in layman's terms, like what would be the key things that you would be looking out for?
Well, definitely we're looking at the reproduction number. It has to be less than 0.9, and we're looking at the healthcare utilization. It has to be at a reasonably low level. And then we're looking at the positivity rate. Currently, it's about 16% in the NCR. It has gone down. The peak was at 25%, so that has helped. And then lastly, we're also looking at the ADAR, or the incidence rate, which is the number of cases per population. So we take into consideration all these factors, and then we come up with a single value that will give us the alert level system based on our metrics that we're looking at.
All right, so to clarify, those were the metrics of the Octa Research Group, just so to not sow confusion. Thank you, as usual, for your time, Professor Guido David of Octa Research. It was a pleasure to talk to you, sir, on this Sunday.
Thank you, Sean. Good evening.
Let's now move on and take a quick look at today's other top stories. A low-pressure area was spotted some 440 kilometers east of Davao City this morning. Pagasa says this LPA has a high chance of developing into a tropical depression within the next 48 hours. More than 25 earthquakes were reported in Sablayan, Occidental Mindoro this morning. However, FIVOC's officer in charge, Director Renato Solidum, said the occurrence of a series of quakes is normal after a strong one. And 36 areas across 20 barangays in Baguio City are under lockdown after a surge in COVID-19 cases. Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong said Baguio City now has over 4,400 active infections, with around 260 average daily cases. And over in New Mexico, a balloon fiesta opens again after a 2-year hiatus because of COVID-19. Hundreds of giant hot air balloons were launched in the skies of Albuquerque, New Mexico, drawing tourists from all over the world. Star Wars' Darth Vader and Yoda, as well as Smokey the Bear, were among the notable balloon designs this year. While tourists and participants are not required to show any COVID vaccination proof, they were required to wear masks at all times. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Masks on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News.